Okay, welcome back to our special feature about monsters in music and in society with my friend Chong Ardevilla, of
Hi,
course,
everyone.
the assistant professor at the University of the Philippines Diliman College of Fine Arts, and is currently in Lubbock, Texas, right now, pursuing his PhD. Chong, I remember you mentioning about the Manananggal, and we have to talk about this because it was so interesting that you said that the Manananggal is an outcast, or because people are afraid of her. Can you clarify that for everybody, please?
So, you mentioned earlier, June, about monsters are used to control our behavior, right? So, go to sleep, or else ghosts will haunt you. Or Manananggal is a really interesting monster for me. I like her. I mean, I don't want to be her. I don't want to meet her. But
Okay.
I want to. I want to discuss the concept of Manananggal. It's interesting that this woman at a certain period of the night, I guess, separates from her lower torso, flies around, terrorizing people. She has become some sort of a feminist icon for some people
Oh,
because the Manananggal, for her to become a monster, she has to live outside the town. She's an outcast. And not only does she live outside of town, she lives alone. And that's problematic for people in Filipino society. We always say, oh, women should always get married, right? I mean, if a woman reaches a certain age and she's not married, ay ano ba yan, naunsa man na. So this is a very interesting concept that this woman is independent. She lives on her own outside the village. She's very resourceful. She doesn't need a man. And yet she has to become a monster for her to do that.
oh,
And then she will fly around, etc., etc. And it's interesting because I told you that there are some cultures that produce the manananggal, but there are some cultures that don't. So here in America, their horror genre, their horror movies is interesting because a lot of their horror films and horror literature is about invasion of private property. I mean,
yeah.
there's daddy, there's someone in the closet, or there's something under my bed. Or the hitchhiker, you make him ride inside or her inside the car. You made that person go into your property, then he or she will invade it. Or the cabin in the woods, the wax museum, haunted house. In the Philippines, for me, if you want to discuss culture and monsters, you just don't discuss the monsters. You also discuss the victims. So, June, do you remember who the victims usually are for the Manananggal?
Who's the victims? The pregnant women, right? Is that right?
Yes. Pregnant women and little children and babies. So,
Yes.
for Philippine society, there's a lot of panic over the safety of children and pregnancy.
Mhm.
So, in a way, remember that there was a struggle for reproductive health rights
Yes.
because there was this narrative that says that because of reproductive health, people will not be able to give birth, etc., etc. So for us as a culture, one of the most important acts in our society is providing children. And this manananggal is taking it away.
Oh, yes.
And that's why for me, the manananggal is an aberrant body or an abomination in which you look at that body and says it does not fit to our society, ergo it is outside. It should not be in. So there you go. You have culture, you have geography, meaning you're outside society.
Right, right.
So, and that's why also, to segue to that, I picked our last song because of aberrant bodies. So this is Chemical Brothers, Hey Boy, Hey Girl. And you guys found like a file for that, right?
I'm looking.
You know,
Okay.
it's interesting that 2020 is about a pandemic. And there's the time I spoke to some artists who are trying to make artworks that they respond to the pandemic. I mean, their thoughts on the pandemic. And some of them were told not to do that. because they were told, paint something beautiful because everybody's suffering in the pandemic. So they don't want to witness or engage with anything pandemic related.
Mm.
And that's why I'm using this music video of Hey Boy, Hey Girl because of the dancing skeletons in the music video. And I want to go out of this session of ours with a bang. We started out with a love song for a vampire.
Mhm.
Let's go out dancing, even on your own. Because one of the greatest, most powerful, and deadliest pandemics was during the 1300s, 12 to 1300s to 1400s, which is called the Great Mortality in Europe, the Black Plague. I've read some literature to it. It's the disgusting, painful way to die. So the problem is a lot, a number of great literature and great artworks were produced in response to the pandemic. So one of the best story novels, well, collection of stories of all time is Boccaccio's Decameron. So the basic premise there is a group of people were stuck inside a house outside the city. The city is like having this pandemic all over. So for them to survive, they have to socially distance. And for them to, entertain themselves, they tell each other stories. So it's a collection of stories. And that's one of Italy's greatest contribution for literature. And speaking of Italy, during the medieval times, they produced a lot of murals featuring dancing skeletons. And it might sound negative, but death will triumph all, meaning death, skeleton will dance all over our graves. So this is a video of dancing skeletons, and it's an interesting take because I'm not trying to be negative. This, a lot of the artists and writers during the Great Mortality actually had a moment of clarity amidst all these problems, amidst all these deaths, a clarity on the fact that they might die. So if they will die, at least let them leave something behind that they are proud of. So there you go, June.
And so before we actually play the song, and you mentioned a moment of clarity, we're starting the new year,
Oh
and
yeah,
you should
yay.
say a few hopeful things to everybody who's listening right now or viewing us on YouTube.
Right. And well, yeah, it's an interesting connection to that because the number 2020 is like the number for perfect vision, right? What I like about that perfect vision is you can see things from a distance with clarity. So we're now in a really bad place, bad time in 2020. We look to the distance and what 2020 should have given us for being so monstrous is a series of lessons that we must listen to for us to have and pursue that clearer vision of 2021 and beyond. So for me, even though we're ending this show with like dancing skeletons, it's still fun. It's a dance, it's electronica because that's the enduring way for us. It's this determination to live our lives. And we must live our lives with being informed and knowledgeable on what to do and what must be done. If you think 2020 was problematic, you just don't whine about it. You just don't post about it on social media and do nothing. The I think the gift of vision is lost if you just look at it and do nothing.
What needs
So
to be done then?
what needs to be done for you is well, first of all, it's I don't have a prescription I don't want to tell people what to do. It's always a personal track. We've all experienced different problems, so we will have a different solution for each of those problems. But you have to take a look at the bigger picture. If you think the problem is certain political failings, then after the holidays, ladies and gentlemen, please go out and register. because voting can change everything. We've seen that. You've seen it. I've seen it here in America. So that's a very proactive way. And I think that's one thing that we must learn. And I'm trying to learn as well is to be proactive rather than reactive. Because reactive is it already happened and I react to it. Proactive is I'm going to make it happen.
Yes.
So there you go, June.
And
Chemical Brothers.
I know, and before we play it too, you also did mention that in the most recent election, uh, we our age bracket were the ones who were voting more, right?
Yeah, there was a study in the Philippines that actually the greater number of voting population demographics would be boomers and Gen Xers. That would be us.
Yeah. So
Lit-
we're not in the millennials, right? Or
well, no, no, no.
millennials, Chong. Feeling
So,
millennial.
I mean, well, arguably, we're at the tail end of Gen X.
Okay, okay.
So we're seeing a signal, right? Between Gen X and millennial. But I like that millennial thing, feeling. No, but the thing is, so the greatest number, literally millions, who did not register are the younger millennials. So perhaps if you are listening right now and you have not registered, please do. Because I used to think like that, oh, my vote will mean nothing. And that for me is an act of stupidity because your vote is everything. People literally died for you and I to be able to vote. This is a privilege many people in different countries do not have.
Mm. Yes, I agree.
I know, and I know it sucks. Lining up sucks. I voted and I hated the lines. It's suffocating. Nagdaan lang pay. But having said that, it is a right and a privilege to vote. I say it's a right because it is a right and it's a privilege again because remember just over 100 years ago women were not allowed to vote.
In some places now, women still aren't allowed to vote, right?
Yeah, see, and we're just gonna throw that away just because of certain inconveniences. I mean, the problem is there. If you don't like the system, change it. Like, to quote Mahatma Gandhi, be the change that you want to see. So be proactive, guys. I mean, I think that's one resolution that we will make every year. Now, I'm going to be proactive. I'm still going to be proactive because that means you are trying to seize control over your life. And the thing with monsters is the monsters become very powerful because they overpower you. You do not have the control. You will be bitten by a vampire. You will be haunted by a ghost. You will be ravaged by a werewolf because, again, it's overpowering. So, for you to deal with monsters is you empower yourself and listen to good music. That's why listen to June.
Okay.
June is cool. This station is cool.
Thanks, John. Really and truly, you just made us even cooler. You know that? By coming on board and sharing your thoughts with us. I told you I got cool friends and they really have something very valuable to say.
I'm
So,
only cool as my friends.
yeah. So thank you so much, Sean, for joining us today to share
Right?
what you just did. And hopefully it's not going to be the last.
Hopefully not. And thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yes. Please invite
And
everybody to join that Fulbright
oh yeah, guys, please go online at the Facebook pages for Fulbright. There are several opportunities there, and I'd like to speak to this to our Cebuano friends, because as a fellow Cebuano myself, well, I grew up in Cebu. I find it really fun and interesting and empowering that I could speak Bisaya with fellow Fulbrighters. So the activity right now is to reach out to schools beyond Manila. So we're asking people from the other cities that are not Manila, maybe please try. You will never know until you try. So just don't think, I will not get it. I won't try. That's another monster there. You're second guessing yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you fail, that's good because at least when you fail, you said, I tried. And then maybe you'll try again. Guys, I mean, the world is there. Are you the victim of the monsters or are you going to overpower the monsters?
Ooh, that's a challenge for 2021.
Yes, ma'am. So, I'm enjoying my iced milk, sweet tea from Texas.
Okay, so thank you so much as Chong gulps down the last few of, of what's left of the sweet tea.
Sweet tea,
Right?
like a
We're
very
gonna
Texas
play.
thing.
Yeah, we're gonna play our final song for today. This is the Chemical Brothers with
Hey boy, hey
"Hey
girl.
Boy, Hey Girl." Okay, thanks everybody for listening and watching us. This is June from Magic 92.3. Bye now.
Ciao.
Bye, Chong. Thanks.
Bye.